Ito. Minasan, ohayo gozaimasu. Okay, dito muna po tayo sa may announcement. Importante, papakita ko sa inyo yung mga dapat netiquette. Naipasa ko na po sa inyo kahapon ang netiquette. So, nakaano po dito is respect each other kahit na naka-online lang po tayo. Okay? Then, yung mga technical issue, kung may mga problema po kayo, kagaya hindi kayo makalagin, sabihin nyo lang po sa akin. Then here, kagaya ng ginawa ko sa inyo, at pinractice nyo noong orientation, mag-post po kayo dito ng Cukture kayo ninyo. Ito medyo advanced na po ito, no? Yung ginawa natin lang last time, mag-post lang po kayo dito ng Cukture. The next time, meron po tayo, i-video natin yung sarili natin na with confidence pagkasanay na kayo magsalita. Okay? Then, wait lang. Then, ito, Cukture kayo ate. So, attendance, napaliwanag ko na rin sa inyo. So, yung registration, nagawa na rin po natin yan, no? Now, mag-start na po tayo sa culture. Japanese culture na po tayo. Teka, nahirapan ako eh. Okay. Let's talk about Japan. Summary ko na lang po Merong 4 climates sa Japan, ang 4 seasons, summer, winter, autumn, tsaka fall. Okay, summer, ang mga dapat kayo suot. Basta pag nasa Japan po kayo, follow kung ano yung trending. I mean, kung ano yung makikita nyo sa paligid niyo, ganun din po kayo para hindi po kayo kapansin-pansin, ano? Pag nakita nyo mga nakagumpisa sila mga nakapagtaglamig, magtaglamig na kayo, baka mamaya winter na mga naka-backless pa kayo. Lalamigin yung mga makakakita sa inyo, no? So, yan, summertime, yan yung mga panahon na nakakapagsuot ng mga pampasexy. Okay, what to wear? Mga komportable yung mga t-shirt. Ang mga tao doon ay laging bali 364 days all year round naka-medyas. Pero depende sa medyas. Pagka winter, baka palang medyas. Pag summer, manipis na medyas. Okay? Autumn, September to November. Then, yan yung nag-aagaw ang lamig tsaka ang init. So, hindi mo na kailangan ng heater dyan tsaka ng aircon. Then, winter is fuyu. Pinakamalamig dyan ay February. Okay, so dyan, patong-patong mga damit nyo dyan para hindi kayo lamigin. Pakapala ng damit yan sa panloob. And sa spring, and March to May, nag-aagaw din ang lamig tsaka ang init. Okay? Then next, ito. Ito. Paliwanag ko sa inyo 47 prefectures. Well, marami ito, no? Yung natawag na kumbaga Ken. Okay? Ibaraki Ken. Saitama Ken. Okay? Chiba Ken. Shizuoka Ken. Yamanashi Ken. Lahat ng mga Ken na yung tawag yan ay prefecture. Okay? Bawat prefecture may kanya-kanya sila. Kumbaga dito sa atin, sa Ilocos, sa Visaya, Pampanga, meron silang kanya-kanyang mga pinipresent na halimbawa sa Yamanashi, meron dyan ang famous dyan ay ubas. Okay, sa Shizuoka, ang famous dyan ay yung strawberry. Tokyo is not a Ken, ano? Tokyo to. Okay? So yan ang busy city sa buong Japan and also Osaka. Actually, magkakaribal ang Osaka at ang Tokyo, especially sa fashion. May kanya-kanyang fashion ng Osaka, may kanya-kanyang fashion din ng Tokyo. Okay? Then Hokkaido, pinakamalamig, all year round, pinakamalamig. Then Osaka, dito maraming mga murang mga shopping. Mga barata mga tao kasi diyan, no? Then Kyoto, diyan yung pa makikita ang image ng Japan nung sinauna pa. May makikita kayo mga geisha, maglalakad, mga nakaganyan pa. At meron din kayo makikita doon. Kung gusto niyo makakuha ng picture ng ganyan, meron po doon ng mga rental. Susuotan kayo, kukuha kayo ng picture, pwede nyo rin ilabas yung damit na yan for rent. Papasyal kayo, lalakad-lakad kayo sa Kyoto. Then Shizuoka, yan yung, andyan ang beach. Summer, parang siya yung summer capital ng prefecture. Pagdating ng mga summer, pag tag-init na, diyan marami ng tao dito. Ito, this is Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji is surrounded by Shizuoka, Nagano, saka ng Yamanashi. Okay, ito Nagano. Nagano Ken. Dadaanan na lang natin ito, no? Okinawa. Magkaiba ang Nihongo ng Okinawa, no? Although parehas lang Japanese. Aichi, pinakamalamig din yan. Part din niya malapit sa Hokkaido. Then Fukuoka, Hyogo, Miyagi. Bukas naman ito, no? Pwede nyo silang basahin. Tochigi. So may mga family kayo sa Japan. Malalaman nyo na kung saan sila dito. Niigata. Sino nakapunta na po sa inyo sa Japan? Or nakapasyal? Anybody?
Hindi po, Sensei.
Sino pa?
Hindi po, Dayan.
Ako, ma'am.
Melsang? Okay, ano?
Yes, ma'am.
Hanko? Nag-tourist?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, saan banda kayo sa nakapagpasyal? Osaka? Tokyo?
Sa Tokyo, ma'am.
Tokyo, medyo mahal doon. Mahal ang doon. Budget doon. Okay, Ishikawa. Next time, bagay ang destination nyo, no, sa work is sa Osaka, no? Sa Kansai. Gifu, Chiba, Wakayama, Yamanashi. Ito yung this is my hometown.
Yamanashi, ma'am.
Yes po, Yamanashi.
Malapit ma'am yun sa Tokyo, ma'am.
Bali to sa highway, Hachioji, 1 hour Hachioji na eh. 1 hour. Hachioji is Tokyo na.
Parang malapit din, parang Gifu na rin ho, no? Ay, Gifu. Gunma pala. Gunma.
Ang Guma kasi ano yan eh. Kabilang side yan, no? Nagano, Guma. Yan magkakatabi yan.
Oo.
Yung mga 1 hour. Ngayon, pagka yung magde-day siya ka, mag-train ka, mga 45, mga 1.5 hours, ganyan. Pero doon na yun sa, Shinjuku na yun. Malayo pa kasi Shinjuku sa Hachioji.
Oo.
Okay? Nagasaki, Kagoshima.
Oita.
Lalabas ito sa exam ninyo, no? Yung mga different, yung different prefecture. Japan different prefecture.
Okay, ma'am.
Yama, Fukushima, Akita, yan yung maraming mga magagandang babae dyan.
Oh.
Sa Akita Ken. Okay?
Shigaken.
Shigaken, Ibaraki Ken, Iwate Ken. Ang kagandahan sa Japan, kahit probinsya sila, province sila, hindi mo mararamdaman province sila. Okay?
Bakit?
Kasi kung ano yung makikita mo sa city, ganun din ang makikita mo sa yung progress ba nila. Kumbaga kahit saan may 7-Eleven.
Oo nga po.
Kahit saan may mga convenience store. Hindi sila nahuhuli. Okay?
Pero ma'am, okay.
Pero mga bahay, mga bihira lang. Pero ibig sabihin, hindi mo maramdaman na kahit nagkatrabaho ko sa province, hindi mo maramdaman na nasa province ka kasi kung ano yung makikita mo sa city, ganun din ang meron sa province. Hindi kagaya dito sa Pilipinas, talagang ramdam mo. Wala ka sa katotohanan.
Pero ma'am, ask ko lang po okay. But mas dun sa mga province, mas malit ng konti ang sahod nila compare sa Tokyo. Kung halos pare-pares lang naman po nagbabayad ng tax.
Pero hindi. Kasi mas mura kasi sa Tokyo, mataas ang sweldo nila kasi mataas ang living cost nila. Sa province, mura lang kasi ang living cost nila. Kaya mura lang. Doon lang binabase.
Okay po.
Pero yung tax nila, kung magkano yung sinweldo mo, doon lang nila nagbabase ang tax.
Okay, ma'am.
Malaki ang sweldo mo, malaki ang tax mo. Kung mababa lang sweldo mo, mababa lang din tax mo.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Para mas
Toyama Ken. Eto Mie Ken. Uriel yan. Yamagata Ken. Kumamoto. Yamaguchi. Tokushima. Shimane Ken. Itong Shimane Ken na to, sa mga hindi raw nakakapag-asawa, musubi kung tawagin to, no? Shimane Ken. Famous itong na to, tawag ito? Jinja. Kung tawagin Jinja sa Shimane Ken. Izumo Jinja. Izumo Taisha. Izumo Taisha. Shrine. Na pagkahalimbawa, hanggang ilang taon ka na, wala ka pa rin asawa. Diyan ka maghihingi na mapapangasawa mo. Nagkakatotoo daw. Dito sa Izumo Taisha. Sa Ehime, Totori, Fukui Ken, Kagawa Ken, and Saga Ken. Dinaanan lang natin to, no, para may idea kayo tungkol sa mga prefecture. So, pwede niyong balikan ito. Saitama Ken. Ito, Saitama Ken, malapit din to sa Tokyo. Actually, yung Narita Airport is not Tokyo. Narita is Chiba. Kaya lang ginamit ang Tokyo Airport, ginamit ang Tokyo kasi mas kilala si Tokyo kaysa sa Chiba. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Then next po tayo sa Ito yung mga gagamit, mga etiquette. Pagdating yun ng Japan, ingat po tayo ha.
Mm.
Marami pong etiquette doon na dapat na sinusunod.
Yes, ma'am.
Mate, baka wala akong... Okay. So, sa pagpunta niyo sa shrine doon, marami silang kanya-kanya mga etiquette na sinusunod, ano? Ito yung minsan pagpasok pa lang, yuyuko ka na, magbibigay ka ng galang. And yung maghuhugas ka muna ng kamay. Pwede rin inumin yan, pero huwag ka iinom dito mismo, ha? Kasi, siyempre, kung dyan iinom, lahat na ng tao nag-inuman dyan. Sasalin mo lang yung tubig doon sa kamay mo, sa palad mo, at doon tayo hihigo sa palad mo mismo. Okay? Hindi dito sa mismong pinaka-bowl. Okay, hindi po dyan mismo, ha? Pero hugasan nyo pa rin siya. Lalagay siya sa palad nyo. At maghuhugas uli ng kamay. At dyan kayo inom. Hindi masyado kami. Anyway, watch. Sigurado pagka nagpunta kayo sa mga ganitong lugar, may kasama kayong Japanese. May magagayad sa inyong Nihonjin. Sila magtuturo sa inyo. Then meron pwede kayong pagka magwi-wish kayo, yung pera na meron butas, goen, 5 yen or 50 yen ang may butas. Yun daw ang swerte na pagka magwi-wish ka. Ihuhulog mo po yun doon sa parang wishing well. And then, yuyuko ka muna, hingi ka ng, at saka ka magwi-wish. And pagka umalis ay bibigay galang ka pa rin. Next. Sa pagkitake po ng pictures,
you ready?
1, 2, 3.
Okay, so bago kayo magpa-take ng picture, tingnan nyo muna yung paligid ninyo kung merong madadamay. Kasi they always binibigyan nila ng ano yung kanilang privacy. Okay? So huwag kayo magugulat, bigla lang megang lalapit sa inyo pagka nasama sila sa kuha ng picture, pabubura sa inyo yon. Right po yun ng human rights, kumbaga. Okay? So, bago kayo magkuha ng picture, look around muna kung meron kayong madadamay. So, avoid na lang po. Okay. Yung mga street photography na yan, pwede kayong ano niya, pagka halimbawa may nakakita na kumuha kayo ng picture, pwede din sila magalit. Okay.
Kas なんて残念やわ。後でちゃんと拾うから。
Hi. Remember po, hindi po pwede kayong hulihin doon pagkatapos kayo ng basura kung saan-saan o hindi man kayo matsyempuan ng pulis. Yung mga taong makakakita sa inyo, especially mga local, pagagalitan talaga kayo. Okay? Meron din pong garbage disposal. Proper garbage disposal.
Hi guys! Hi! Hello! So, nagbabalik na naman ako para sa Ay, mga kababayan, come back again. Come back ako sa aking vlog. Alright, so today, ang i-discuss ko sa inyo ay basura. Basura. So, dito sa Japan, ang basura, malinis. Tulad nito, itong container na to, na tawag dito, ayan o, ang tawag dito ay food container. Anyway, ito naman, kaya wala siyang nakalagay kasi itatapon ko na siya. So today kasi, ang Today is 24th of April, so non-burnable ang ating itatapon. Ilalagay natin mamaya. And itong tatapon ko for today is the orange non-burnable garbage. Yan yung mga... Ayun naman, nakikita nyo naman, glass items, cutlery, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, and blah blah blah. Yan. Oh, parang wala naman dun yung itatapon ko ngayon. Ayun, diba? Okay, anyway. Yun ang pagkakaintindi ko, so yun na lang. Tapos, dito sa Japan, may iba't iba silang klase ng, ano ba, division ng basura yan. So, tayo din naman sa Pinas, ganun din. Meron silang mga burnable garbage, non-burnable garbage, ito yung recyclable garbage, then, ayan, nandyan. So, kapag blue, PET bottles, yung mga food containers, trays, ganyan, shampoo, anything that is plastic, tapos yung mga, yan, pwedeng i-recycle, kaya nga recyclables. And then, for the other one, yung yung green naman ay yung mga, ano ba tawag dito, lata, yung bottle cups too, dapat i-separate nyo yon. And yung mga ganyan, ganito mga karton. So, ayun na nga, nalobat ako, kaya balik tayo dun sa basura, balik tayo sa basurahan. So, yan, hagdan, palayo. Hagdan tayo sa basurahan. Okay, nasa na ba tayo? So, ngayon nga, meron din naman, dapat isa-separate mo din yung mga ganire. Food waste, syempre, kasama yan sa kulay pink, which is the burnable. Hello, burnable. Ayaw mag-focus na rin. Mag-focus na ito. Ngayon, ayan. Ito yung separation ng aming, garbage disposal things, blah, blah, blah. Ayun, so, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hindi kami bumili ng tatlo pa nito kasi mahal. Kaya ito sa Daiso lang to. So, Daiso. And this the other one, to sa Daiso lang din. Para lang hindi nakakalito and para lang din mas maayos. Yun, sana, well, sa Pinas, ganun din naman sa atin, di ba? Mga tawag sa atin sa Pinas, biodegradable and non-biodegradable. Yeah, may basura din. Oh my God, meron pang basura, fertilizers. Oh my God, excuse me. So, ayun. Ayun ang balitang Japan. Balitang kwentong Japan ko for today. So, kwento number 1. And, that's it. So, sa Japan, kailangan nililinis pa yung basura katulad nitong sa food containers, yung mga styro, yung mga lalagyan ng mga pagkain. Kailangan malinis siya, hindi siya masebo, hindi siya may mga toyo, suka, ganun. And then, for the PET bottles, kailangan PET bottles po. Kailangan, tanggalin mo yung cover niya, hugugin mo, ano ba tawag doon? Linisin mo yung loob, and then, ganun din sa cans, dapat malinis. Pero syempre, sa mga burnables, mga food waste, di mo na kailangan linisin yun, pre. Pero, ewan ko lang kung baka mayroong pang special instruction. Pero, yun. Well, actually, gusto ko naman ito. Gusto ko yung ways nila sa basura, and makakatulong talaga to sa environment natin. And hindi lang dahil gusto ko maging organized. Gusto ko rin makatulong. Gusto ko rin sumunod after 5 years dito sa Japan. Nako, lagi lang akong tapos sa convenience store. Yun ang technique ko eh. Tatapos sa convenience store para sila na yung mag-ayos ng basura ko. Pero hindi tama yun. Hindi kami good example. Last time, nung bago pa lang kami dito, tinapon namin yung box namin doon sa hindi nakayupi. Dapat yung mga boxes, yung mga karton, dapat nakayupi. Yun, nakayupi sila para hindi ba ganun ka-consume dun sa space, dun Pero kasi sila dito yung parang, meron sila ditong parang may net, tapos yun yung position, yun yung location na doon mo lang ilalagay yung basura mo. Or meron pa sila dito yung parang cage, ganun. Ayun. So, yun lang ang masasabi ko for today, and I hope you have a great day. Tapos, may natutunan din kayo about Japan from me. Hindi naman lahat ng sinasabi ko ay accurate. Pero, who knows? Diba? Sana nakatulong ako sa inyo, and here's my love. Mwah! Bye!
Di pala ako narinig kanina, no? So, sa cities, hindi nyo na masyado mararamdaman sa Japan, no? Hindi nyo na masyado mararamdaman yung pagiging hospitality nila. Siyempre, mga busy sila sa trabaho, no? Wala na silang time para sa mga hospitality. Para sa Pilipinas din, pagka sa Manila, compare yung mga tao sa Manila at sa mga province. Pwede mo sabihin ng mga tao sa Manila, mga cold people na ba? Hindi na sila masyadong sa hospitality. Unlike sa province, na talagang yung pagiging warm-hearted nila, mararamdaman mo pa.
Konnichiwa. 旅行中ですか？よかったらうち寄ってかへん？かめへんかめへん。靴はそこで脱いでや。
Okay? Ito yung pakatandaan ninyo, ha. Bawal na bawal ipapasok ang inyong sapin sa paa, sapatos na panlabas. Ipapasok nyo sa loob ng bahay or depende sa ano, no, sa building, depende sa area, kung Americanized yung ano, yung kanyang tawag ito. Pag may nakita kayong slippers sa may pintuan, ibig sabihin kinakailangan nyo maghubad ng sapatos. Okay? Ang sapatos ay panlabas lang. The reason why ang mindset ng Japanese is ang sapatos ay pangkalye. Ang loob ng bahay nila, pag sinuot mo yung sapatos mo sa loob ng bahay nila, pag sinuot mo yung sapatos mo sa loob, pag hindi mo inubad yung sapatos mo sa loob ng bahay nila, para mo silang binabastos na ang feeling nila, ganun ba karumi ang bahay nila para itrato mo na parang kalye. Okay? So, wag na wag pong or hindi hubarin. Kinakailangan hubarin niyo po yung inyong sapatos na panlabas at wag na wag papasok sa loob ng bahay. Okay, ito naman yung sa mga paggawa ng otcha, manners naman po yan. Meron din pong mga pinag-aaralan, yung mga arrangement po ng kanilang pagkain. Smoking areas. Siguro naman sa palagay ko, wala naman nagyoyosi sa inyo, no? But if ever meron, be sure to know about it. So, magbabawal talaga sa inyo mismo yung mga Japanese na makakakita sa inyo. Okay? So, huwag niyo pong hayaan kung magtanong po kayo kung hindi kayo sigurado para hindi po kayo mapagalitan. Okay. And when buying at the convenience store,
チケットとかもこれで出せるんやで。
何かお探しでしょうか。
ATM やったらあの機械で会うてるで。
and how to order at the restaurant.
Thank you for visiting my channel and watching this video. And today, I'm going to teach you how to order food in Japan, in Japanese restaurant. So here are pictures of some Japanese food. These are all the pictures I took, actually. And yeah, let's go. So when you first enter the restaurant, the waiter may say these things. いらっしゃいませ. And it means welcome, hello, and thank you for coming. So that's very common. You don't need to say anything back, but they will say that. And they will ask you, 何名様でしょうか? And it means how many people. So you can answer by saying 1名です. That means one person. 2名です. That means two people. 3名です. Three people. 4名です. Four people, and so on. So basically, you say the number of people, and you say 名, which means person. And you can learn the numbers in my previous videos, but you just simply add the number and say 名です. And next thing that the waiter might ask you is, they're going to ask you whether you smoke or not in the seat. So in many restaurants in Japan, they allow smoking in a designated area. And they have, well, some places don't have separated rooms with smoking and non-smoking. And some places may not allow you to smoke at all. But if you go to restaurants, especially the casual ones, they may ask you this. おタバコはお吸いになられますか? おタバコはお吸いになられますか? So, おタバコ means cigarette in a polite form. Tabako is cigarette. And おタバコ is polite way to say cigarette. And お吸いになられますか means do you smoke in a polite way. Or they may ask 喫煙席と禁煙席どちらがよろしいでしょうか? 喫煙席と禁煙席どちらがよろしいでしょうか? And it means, would you like a smoking allowed seat or non-smoking seat? So 喫煙席 means smoking allowed seat, and 禁煙席 means non-smoking allowed seat. So, and you can answer these questions by, for the first one, if they ask, おタバコはお吸いになられますか? You can say yes or no. はい means yes. いいえ means no. And for the second question, 喫煙席と禁煙席どちらがよろしいでしょうか? You can just answer by saying either one. 喫煙席, which is smoking allowed seat, or 禁煙席, non-smoking seat. Very simple. So what you want to do when you sit down is you look through the menu and you're going to order. And when you want to order, in many restaurants in Japan, especially the casual restaurants, they have a buzzer. So you can press that to call the waiter. It's usually near the menu, so you can find that pretty easily. But if there's no buzzer, don't ever whistle or shout waiter to call the waiter. That's just rude. So people don't like rude things, I guess. And so instead, you can make an eye contact with the waiter and raise your hand and say this. すみません. It means excuse me. すみません. Or 注文お願いします. 注文お願いします. And it means can I order? So order is 注文, and お願いします means please, which you will use that a lot later in this video. So when you want to ask for other things like menu, water, tea, napkin, and spoons, you can use these. So for menu, you say メニューをお願いします. Can I have a menu? メニューをお願いします. So as I explained earlier, you can say お願いします to anything. It's just please. So it's just nicer to say that at the end of each sentence. So if you want to ask for water, お水をお願いします. Can I have a glass of water? So お水 means water in a polite way. So Japanese words have a lot of polite words. Even for words, they have polite way to say that. So water, normally you would say 水, but お水 is polite. And you put o in front of these words and it becomes polite way to say that. And if you want to ask for black or green tea, you can ask for that in many Japanese cuisine restaurants. You can say お茶をお願いします. お茶をお願いします. Can I have a glass of tea? お茶 again is a polite way to say 茶. People don't say 茶, but we say お茶. And just a note, teas or green teas in Japan are not sweet. I know in some country you drink green tea sweetened, but in Japan we drink it straight. So you eat it with food, so it's supposed to be not sweet. And if you want to ask for a napkin, which in many restaurants in Japan have, you ask for おしぼりをお願いします. おしぼりをお願いします. Can I have a napkin? And in Japan, many of these napkins, おしぼり, are wet. It's like wet towel. And sometimes it's warm, sometimes it's cold. But everyone uses this to clean their hands before eating. And so yeah, that's what we do. And the last one, these might be useful for people who do not know how to use chopsticks. So it's a very important one to remember. If you want to ask for spoon, fork, or knife, you can say スプーンをお願いします. That's for spoon. Or フォークをお願いします. That's for fork. Or ナイフをお願いします means for knife. So as you can kind of see or hear, the words for spoon, fork, knife is pretty similar in Japanese. And that's because these words are actually from English. So it's just in a Japanese accent. But we say spoon for spoon, fork for fork, and knife for knife. Easy. Okay, so you enjoyed your meal and it's time for you to pay. And in restaurants in Japan, it's common to pay at the cashier, especially the casual ones, but there are restaurants where you pay at the table, like many restaurants outside of Japan. So when you want to pay, and when you don't go to the cashier but you pay at the table, you either press the buzzer that's on the table or you make an eye contact with the waiter and raise your hand and say this. お会計をお願いします. お会計をお願いします. Can I pay for the meal? Or can I pay? So, お願いします, as I explained earlier, it just means please. And お会計 means the payment, the check. So, this is a bonus, but when you leave the restaurant, here are things that you need to remember. First, well, actually, this is for when you pay, but you don't need to pay a tip. It's just not what we do in our culture. And I wouldn't say it would be rude. Actually, I don't know, but people don't do that in Japan. We don't pay tip. And sometimes it's already included in the receipt as a service fee. So you don't need to pay a tip here. And as it is true for any other country, Japanese people, regardless of the job positions, or if you're a worker or if you're customers, people appreciate politeness. So be polite to people who's working at the restaurant too. It's just nice to be polite to people that you don't know. So if you like the food and or services, say this to the waiter at the end as you leave. ごちそうさま. ごちそうさま. And it means thank you or it was a great meal. So it's just it just shows your appreciation to the food, and you can say that to waiter too. And that's actually a great way to thank the waiter. So say that. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I think these are some phrases that's actually very useful when you go to restaurants in Japan. Even though some waiters may speak English to you, it's still nice to be able to speak some Japanese to them. So I hope you use it when you go to Japan. Thank you. Sayonara. Bye.
はい。あれ。暗くなった。で、Okay, this is the onsen. We call them onsen, public bath, hot spring. Usually sa may mga tattoo, yun, hindi sila allowed. Before kasi may mga tattoo lang doon is mga yakuza. Okay, mga yakuza na yun, normally siyempre, mga tattoo sila. And they make troubles inside the public bath. So after that, inavoid na nilang papasukin ng mga yakuza or may mga tattoo. Kasi iniisip nila they're going to make troubles lang. So, bawal maligo nang meron kayong suot. Lahat ito, hubot-hubad po talaga kayo. Kahit di kayo magkakilala, hubot-hubad po. Bawal po yung meron nakatapis, or meron nakapanty, or basta wala lahat, zero.
はここへ置いて帰ってな。
ひばりや。もう無理。もうしんどい。足が知るだからね。
Ito ang pinaka-favorite ninyo pagka kayo ay magsishopping. Ito. So, dali. Meron tayong do's and don'ts. Ito. Korea is Cukture. Minasang. Break time tayo ng 10 minutes. Minasang, iko'y maska.
Hi.
Ay, break time po muna tayo ng 10 minutes. Okay?
Hi.
Okay.
Ah,
Ay,
Ikimasu.
Hi.
kay lalayo 10 minutes lang. Okay, minasang, makabalik na kayo.
Hi.
Hi, minasang, okairi nasai. Hi, okairi nasai.
Tadaima.
Hi. Ikimasu. Ito naman ay yung rules and ways and regulation pagdating nyo sa Japan. So pagdating nyo sa Japan, act like a Japanese. Follow them. So makikita nyo pagka nagtatawid sila sa left side kayo. Pag nagtatawid sa right side kayo. Okay? Follow them. Then meron din siyempre doon na tawag na human rights. Lahat doon ay may karapatan. Okay? Basta ikaw laging nasa tama, pwede mo ipaglaban kahit sabi mong foreigner ka pa. Okay? Ito naman status of residence. May tinatawag sila. Pagka working visa, iba po yun. Tapos meron po yung resident visa. Iba-ibang klaseng visa. Ganyan po ang itsura ng visa. Binibili, may bayad po yan, no? Hindi sila mismo yung babayaran nyo. Bibili kayo sa mismong post office. Bibili kayo ng stamp. Yung stamp na yan ang iaabot nyo sa immigration para naman i-stick sa inyong passport. Okay, resident registration. Ito usually may asawa, mga resident po doon. And in case of emergency naman, pagka ang halimbawa, gusto magpa-hospital, magpa-ambulansya, or may sunog, 119. Okay, dial 119. Pagka naman car accident or gusto tumawag ng police, is 110. Yes po? Ano po? Okay, so 110 pagka nasa trouble kayo o kaya may nanggugulo sa inyo o basta may maingay. So avoid din po to create noise ha. Although magkakasayahan kayo sa inyong bahay, party-party kayo, luto-luto kayo ng mga Filipino food, then avoid nyo yung oras, especially oras ng pahihinga, ay avoid nyo ang pag-iingay. Dahil hindi sila ang kakatok sa inyo. Tatawag sila sa 110, susumbong kayo ng kapitbahay ninyo at yung pulis ang makapag-usap sa inyo na wag maingay. Okay? So, ang earthquake sa Japan is normal po yun, no? Normal ang earthquake. Hindi yung pagulat-gulat sa kanila araw-araw ay lumilindol po sa kanila. And lahat ng bahay po doon ay naka-built-in para sa earthquake. May mga bearing po siya sa ilalim para pagka-earthquake ay sasayaw lang ang mga bahay. So, okay lang yung earthquake na horizontal ba yun? Horizontal. Hindi kagaya ng vertical yung patayo. Ang shake, delikado po yun. Okay? So, merong designated, pagka malakas ang earthquake, merong designated place na kung saan kayo pupunta. Pagka malakas talaga ang earthquake na kayo nagtitipon-tipon. Usually, mga eskwelahan na malapit sa area ninyo. And yan, typhoon. Ang typhoon naman ay usually galing din sa Pilipinas, no? So, wag lang na kayo lalabas ng bahay kung halimbawa may mga ganyan disaster na typhoon. Pero doon sa earthquake, kinakailangan nyo lumabas ng bahay kaysa ma-stuck kayo sa loob ng bahay. Okay, sa housing naman, pagdating niyo po doon sa trabaho, halimbawa, may tinatawag na chicken-rekin, yung 1 month, mga 2 months deposit, kung mga ganun ba, advance. Yung company ang bahala doon, pero pagdating sa monthly ninyo, ay kayo po magkakasama sa bahay, maghahati-hati. So, the more na marami kayo, the more mas makakatipid kayo. And, iwasan po ninyo, pagka lumipat kayo sa bahay, no, iwasan po ninyo, magbubutas kayo ng mga dingding, na magdadamage kayo ng tinitirhan ninyo. Kasi pagbabayaran nyo po yun, pagka kayo ay aalis na. Okay? So, iwasan ma-damage. Huwag magpupukpok naman kung ano-ano. And always keep clean para pag alis ninyo, hindi na kayo mahihirapan maglinis. Always punas. Lalo na sa inyong mga lutuan para yung mga mantika. Bago kapitan ng mantika, linis agad. Kasi kung ano yung damage ninyo, kinakailangan palitan yung mga, halimbawa yung mga wallpaper na nakaano sa dingding na yun, dahil nadumihan, babayaran niyo po yun. So always keep clean. And si kikinrekin, ito yung tawag na 2 months deposit, 1 month advance, mga ganyan. At doon, pagkahanap bagay, hindi ko masyado explain sa inyo ito kasi ang company na ang hahanap ng bahay para sa inyo. Then, meron po kayo doon babayaran na babawas po yung sa sweldo ninyo, yung inyong insurance, health insurance, Kenko Hoken, Shakai Hoken. Okay? Yun po yung mas maganda meron kayo noon kasi 30% lang babayaran ninyo. Mahal po ang hospital sa Japan, no? Doon, ang hospital doon is, kumbaga, clinic. Tawag din nila doon hospital. Pero pag kayo hospital talaga, big hospital o Kibyo-in. Pag sabing o Kibyo-in, yung malaking hospital yon. Pero pag sabing Byo-in lang, mga clinic lang po yun. Okay? So, yun yung gagamitin ninyo, inyong health card. Kumbaga sa atin dito parang PhilHealth card. So, malaking tulong po yun. Mandatory po yun sa lahat po na nagtatrabaho sa Japan. And ito medical card. Ang clinic doon, ito yung sabi ko sa ito clinic, ito big hospital. Pagka mabigat na talaga yung case ninyo at hindi kaya ng clinic, magbibigay na recommendation itong si clinic para dalhin doon ka sa malaking hospital magpapatingin. Okay? So, itong clinic ay usually bukas siya 9 to 3 or 9 to 5. Break time sila ng 12 o'clock, ganyan. Then resume sila ng 2 p.m. And Saturday, half day. Sa morning lang usually para sa mga nagtatrabaho kasi nakakapunta ng ordinary day. Okay? Then sa employment contract, tandaan niyo sa employment contract, intindihin niyo kung ano ang nakalagay sa employment contract bago kayo pipirma. Okay, unawain niyo kung ano ang nakalagay doon, kung ilang oras ba kung ilang oras ang OT, kung kailan, usually po doon sa Japan, twice a week or 2 days a week ay day off. Okay? So, sa caregiving, hindi mo pwede sabihin na Saturday, Sunday, day off nyo. Pinakailangan meron pong may iwan doon sa facility. So, rounds kayo. Kung halimbawa, Monday ang off mo, maybe ang pang second off mo sa that week is Thursday or maybe Friday. Okay? So, meron kayong rest day na 2 days a week. Okay, that's a law. Then, basahin nyo din doon kung magkano yung kasi doon pagka wala kayong, hindi kayo pumalya o hindi kayo nag-absent sa trabaho ninyo, even 1 day sa buong buwan, sa isang buwan, meron po kayo matatanggap na bonus. Okay? Kahit isang lapad, malaking din yan, pangkain din yan. Then, so tandaan ninyo bago basahin nyo muna maigi or paliwanag sa inyo kung ano yung nakalagay sa contract. Okay, duration of the employment contract which is 5 years. Ito terms and condition na dapat alamin nyo, importante. Nakasulat sa contract. kung ilang years sa contract, yung job location, kung saan yung location ng trabaho ninyo, at ano yung responsibilities ninyo. Then working hours, halimbawa 9 to 6 or 8 to 5. Then yung mga overtime work, yan dapat nakaspecify po yan. Then how to determine, calculate, and pay the salary. Kung paano yung para naintindihan po ninyo. Especially pagka direct hiring kayo, wala pong pwedeng kumalta sa sweldo ninyo. Direct po ang sweldo ninyo coming from the employer. Then, yung details nakalagay doon sa employment termination. Okay? Halimbawa, pwede nakalagay doon na pwede kayo terminate kung halimbawa bigla ka nagbuntis. Okay? Kailangan may mga ano doon na nakalagay doon. Yun mga reason kung bakit ka pwedeng i-terminate. Okay, so basahin niyo lang po. Ito yung nakalagay po ito sa libro, no? Then this one's the Aisatsu. Okay, garbage cycling, balikan po natin ito. Ay, wala nga pala ito. Hindi nga pala ito. Wait lang ha. Ito.
Guys, welcome to my second channel. Today, I wanted to focus on one thing that's cool about Japan, which is recycling. So without further ado, this is how
Wala. Ito naman yung sa continuation sa recycling. Medyo strict kami dito sa basura dahil pwede kayo reklamo ng kapitbahay ninyo pagka ang basura ninyo ay nangangamoy, ibig sabihin nababayaan po ninyong mga amoy. Okay. Doon tayo sa, balikan natin yan. Itong Aisatsu naman ito ay normal ito sa mga kapitbahay ninyo. Makikisama po kayo sa kapitbahay ninyo ha. Kahit hindi sila kakilala, mag-o-ohayo gozaimasu kayo pag nakasalubong ninyo. Huwag niyong pansinin kung halimbawa hindi kayo pinansin. Pwede kasing maggugulat sila, bakit ako binati nun? Ako ba binati nun? Sa akin ba na good morning yun? So alanganin sila kaya maaaring hindi kayo nabati sa una. So subukan niyo ulit batiin pagka nakasalubong niyo ng ohayo gozaimasu. So wag kayo masyadong pa-apekto kung halimbawa hindi sila nag-greet back sa inyo. Tuloy lang. Okay? Ito naman tayo sa recycling.
Hey guys, welcome to my second channel. Today, I wanted to focus on one thing that's cool about Japan, which is recycling. So without further ado, this is how we recycle in Japan. Each of the boxes, there are rules. And for the can one, you have to wash it and then crush it with your feet. See? They're all crushed in there. And for these ones, you can't put like these kind of trays. It has to be like the transparent trays. You see? And then this one, you have to like take out the paper and like the middle part. You see? And this one too, apparently the difference is that this one is steel and this one is aluminum. Aluminum. I didn't know there was a difference. 違いあったって知らんかった。これは? Oh, this is the food trays. So you can't put these stuff, but you could put like these trays. いいよ、開けて。See? And this one, これも同じか。This is the same. This is water bottles. So take off the caps and the label. And then the caps, you put it in here. And this one is 同じや。牛乳パック. So you have to cut it, dry it, and then yeah. Bam. Say, and that's how you recycle in Japan.
これが日本でリサイクルする方法です。
Okay, and we have to also the do's and don'ts. Wait. Okay, fix ko lang muna po yung do's and don'ts, what should you do in Japan and what you should not.
About Japan before I got here. I knew what Pikachu was, and I'd seen The Last Samurai about 3 times, and that was probably the extent of my knowledge. I actually did most of my reading about Japanese etiquette on the horrific 12-hour flight between London and Tokyo, and I've pretty much just winged it ever since. In hindsight, there are a lot of things I know now that I would have done well to comprehend before I got here. So today, I've taken 5 years of experience in the field and compiled it into this list of 12 things not to do in Japan. So when you're on your flight here, you needn't worry about reading about cultural etiquette. You can sit back, relax, and enjoy the in-flight entertainment with incredible titles to choose from, such as The Emoji Movie, Valerian and the City of 1,000 Disappointments, Ace Detective Sherlock Bones. And I think we can all agree, of those 3 movies, the most compelling would have to be Sherlock Bones, Ace Detective. Especially with that brilliant tagline, the world's first talking police dog on a mission impossible. Mission impossible. It doesn't really work, does it?
Okay, don't eat while walking. Okay, wag po kayong kakain doon habang naglalakad. You better stop in one place sa harap ng convenience store, finish eating, and after finish, you can go. But don't eat when walking.
So walking down the street whilst eating and drinking isn't illegal. You're not going to get shouted at and you're not going to get arrested by Ace Detective Sherlock Bones. But what you will get is the stare of disapproval. A lot of people don't know this one until you get here and never see anyone doing it. What you'll find is if someone wants to eat or drink something quickly outside, they'll buy at the convenience store and then eat it or drink it out the front. Same with vending machines. If they buy something from the vending machine, they'll drink it there and then next to the vending machine. The main reason is people are very conscious about keeping the streets clean here, and you don't want to ruin someone else's day by having them walk through your spilt coffee. That said, all you need to do to avoid the stare of disapproval is just stop and eat and drink whatever it is there and then. Maybe it's on a bench, maybe you're just standing at the side of the road, whatever. Just don't walk whilst eating and drinking and you'll be all right.
Pagkakain kayo, yung chopstick ay huwag niyong itutusok sa inyong kanin. Ginagawa lang po yan sa patay. Okay, pag kami nakaburol na family, yan po yung nakalagay sa ulunan, merong Christ at nakatusok ang chopstick. Normally, hindi po yan ginagawa. O hindi po yan, mali po, bawal po yan. Parang it's a jinx.
3 things to point out here. Number 1, never put your chopsticks upright into the...
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct.
right into the rice, as this is part of a ritual conducted at funerals when offering rice to the spirits of the deceased. Similarly, number 2, never pass things from chopstick to chopstick, because again, this is done during funerals to pass the bones of cremated relatives. So that kind of imagery doesn't go down well over dinner, as you'd expect. Probably best not to conjure up imagery surrounding death before you've even had your lunch. Oh, and thirdly, don't do the rubbing of the chopsticks. You know when you open wooden chopsticks, you like to do that to get rid of the splinters, just because it's fun. Everyone loves doing that, right? But don't do it in Japan, because it's seen as rude to the owner, because you're basically saying, oh, your chopsticks are probably cheap, which, let's face it, they probably are. But in fact, they usually definitely are. Probably the greatest thing about Japan ever, and the reason that I eat out several times a week, just because I save 20% automatically. In Japan, it's believed that customer service should always be exceptional, with staff giving
Bawal magbigay ng tip. Hindi po sila ino-order ang pagbibigay ng tip. Tataasan lang kayo ng kilay, kumbaga may trabaho kami at hindi namin kinakailangan ang inyong tip o ang inyong awa. Okay, so bawal ang mag-tip. Insulto po sa kanila ang pagbibigay ng tip. Not unless na they are working sa international hotel, which is sanay sila makipag-counteract sa mga foreigners na may nagbibigay ng tip. Pero sa restaurant ay wag po, bawal.
120% every time. 120%, 110%, 120% would be ridiculous. But it's not necessarily rude to tip someone, it just creates this awkward situation where the worker, the staff would feel like you're assessing their performance and they could potentially lose face. So you might think you're being nice by giving someone a tip, but you're not. You're just creating an uncomfortable situation for the worker, and they'll probably just reject your tip outright. So don't be tempted to do it.
Pag nasa loob po kayo ng train, bawal na bawal po gumamit ng cellphone. Patayin po ninyo or manner mode or silent mode ang inyong cellphone para kung sakasakaling tumunog man ay hindi kayo makaka-disturbo ng inyong katabi sa loob ng train, ng densya. Okay?
Sumimasen.
Hi.
Sensei.
Hi.
Pero pwede naman pong mag-scroll like basta ano lang.
Oo naman. Oo naman.
So, bawal lang mag-take ng calls, gano'n.
Yes po, bawal mag-pick. The reason why is pagka marami kasi kayong makakasabay na from work na sobrang pagod, na natutulog. Normal po sa kanila mga natutulog din sa loob ng day siya while on their way home. Siyempre, tapos foreign language pa yung sisimangutan talaga po kayo. Tapos magsasalita kayo, makakagising po kayo. So, nag-scroll lang pwede po. Tapos mga naka-headset, naka-earphone. Yun po, pwede po yun. Pero wag na wag lang po kayo sasagot ng telepono. Okay? Ang ginagawa, may makulit kayong caller. I-message nyo. Sabihin nyo lang, nasa loob ako ng train or nasa loob ako ng densya. Understood na po yun. Na hindi kayo pwede makapag-usap pag nasa loob kayo ng train. So, ibig sabihin, pagkababa nyo na lang, tsaka ngayon, talagang emergency, pwede po kayong pumunta dito, nakita yung mouse ko? Yung between ng bagon, meron dyan sa may gitna dyan, yung hindi kayo maririnig na sa may gitna ng bagon. Doon po kayo makapag-usap, pero mahina lang ang boses po ninyo. Okay, pwede kayo mag-scroll. Wala naman kayong ingay, lahat naman doon, mga busy sa cellphone, nag-i-scroll lang din.
There's a real emphasis on being mindful when you're using public transport in Japan that's often completely absent in many countries. Numerous of the times that I've been riding a train in the UK and someone nearby has been screaming at their partner down the phone, and I felt like I was part of the argument, like some kind of unpleasant 4D experience. But given Japan's density, it's especially important to be mindful when you're stuffed in a train alongside fellow commuters, many of whom are sleeping as well. with that in mind, don't ever talk on your phone on the train. That's a massive, no thing to do here. And even talking loudly is looked down upon. If you're on a local train or a subway train and you get a phone call, just ignore it until you get off. And if you're on a bullet train, you can go to the little compartment in between the carriages and take your call there. I remember for the first few years that I lived here, whenever someone handed me a business card, I was utterly terrified because until then, business cards to me had always just been a bit of paper or a bit of card with some writing on. But in Japan, they are so much more. Once you've exchanged business cards, the trick is to imagine you've just been handed the lost treasure of El Salvador or something. First, study it meticulously, the name, the job position, the details. And then either put it in your business card holder or just put it on the desk if you're at a business meeting. Just put it on the table. Never play around with business cards or put them in your back pocket because they're seen as a physical extension of the person themselves, and you don't want to stuff somebody's physical extension down your back pocket. If you're doing business in Japan, always carry business cards. You don't want to be that awkward foreigner who stood there writing out their name and number 50 times in 1 hour on the back of a tissue. And for the record, I am usually that awkward foreigner scribbling down my details because I do forget to bring them, and subsequently I hate myself when it happens. If you've got a run runny nose, standard procedure here is just to keep sniffing or just to find a toilet or a broom cupboard to hide in. Blowing noses in public is pretty rude. Interestingly though, handkerchiefs are pretty popular here. Not in the way you would think though. People use them to wipe sweat off in the hot summer weather, or even more commonly to dry their hands in public toilets. Because surprisingly, many public toilets in Japan don't have any hand drying facilities despite having space-age toilets that reside in the same room. It's quite a weird contrast that I don't quite understand. Physical contact in Japan isn't really a thing. You'll bow a lot, you'll nod enthusiastically daily, but occasionally you might shake hands with someone if they're a good friend or a business client that you get on well with, but generally I avoid it unless someone makes the first move. And hugging in particular doesn't go down well. It's just met with expressions of awkwardness and despair. And also amongst couples, public displays of affection are phenomenally rare here, so don't be surprised if you get the stare of disapproval if you're kissing your partner frantically in the street. And I think that it should definitely be this. If you're the sort of person who feels the need to have a debate or an argument about things or throw your opinions out there constantly, people will find you obnoxious and dislikable and probably just avoid you. Embedded heavily within the culture is this idea of keeping harmony and avoiding conflict at all costs. And it's a lot easier to do that when people aren't at each other's throats throwing around opinions. Sometimes it can be frustrating when people are just unwilling to speak their minds or give you a clear yes or no answer. I mean, one time, one of my colleagues when I was teaching, I asked him, "Do you have any pets?" And he said to me, "Maybe my cat is dead." I was like, "Maybe your cat is dead? What does that mean? It is dead or is it not dead? It's not Schrodinger's cat, is it? It turned out the cat was definitely dead, but he was just the sort of person that always liked to use the word maybe and just not express certainty. But if there's one reason I've never seen a fight anywhere in Japan in the last 5 years, it's probably this reason, that people are a lot more careful about expressing their opinions and holding back what they really think. Yeah, I couldn't be bothered to film that one. Everyone seems to know this one already anyway. When visiting someone's house or entering a public building like a school or going to a hot spring, you take off your shoes and switch to slippers before you go in. The easiest way of knowing if you have to change your shoes is there'll be a change in elevation in the floor. So when you go in, there'll be a little stair, and that's when you know. This is the one thing on the list where failing to stick to the rules will have noticeable results. A few years ago, a friend and I visited a public bathhouse in Kyoto, and we went in, and you're supposed to take your shoes off. For some reason he didn't. I don't know why. I don't think he noticed or saw. There was a little old woman sitting behind the entrance counter where you kind of pay, and when we walked in, she saw that he still had his shoes on, and she shot up with terrifying energy and ran over and grabbed him and took him to the front and was like, "Get your shoes off, get your shoes off." And that image has stayed burnt into my mind. This quiet little old woman suddenly becoming so alive and animated by this terrible event. And ever since then, I've never forgotten to take my shoes off when entering a building. For whatever reason, rubbish bins and trash cans are disturbingly rare in Japan. Outside of convenience stores, it can be a nightmare to find one. And the reason I put this on the list is because so many people, so many of you guys message me on Twitter saying, "I'm in Tokyo and I can't find a bin, what should I do?" I've wandered through Tokyo for up to 20 minutes sometimes just in search of a bin and can't find one. The streets though, despite that, are shockingly clean here because people, if they can't find a bin, they just take the rubbish home with them. It can feel like some kind of mini game sometimes, going in search for a bin, because when you do find a bin you feel a real sense of achievement. But despite that, don't be tempted to litter. Just keep trying and you'll find a bin one day.
Nakamute pala ako. Explain ako na explain. So, sa Japan, kahit na halimbawa, wala kayong sasakyan na makikitang dumadating, ay wag po kayong tatawid. Tandaan ninyo, ang susundin po ninyo ay yung signal light. Kung naka-stop kayo, remain stop, at wag po kayong tatawid. Kahit sabihin, wag isipin na, wala naman sasakyan na dumarating eh. Eh kung may biglang sumulpot, wala kayong panalo kasi hindi kayo sumunod. Okay? Kahit na sabihin mong clear at walang sasakyan, ay wag kayong tatawid.
Tokyo, and I've pretty much just winged it ever since. In hindsight, there are a lot of things and avoiding conflict at all costs. And it's a lot easier to do that when people aren't at each other's throats, throwing around opinions. Sometimes it can be frustrating when people are just unwilling to speak their minds or give you a clear yes or no answer. I mean, one time, one of my colleagues, when I was saw that he still had his shoes on, and she shot up. Outside of convenience stores, it can be a nightmare to find one. And the reason I put seems like a fairly obvious addition to the list, and yet in the UK we just cross the street whenever the hell we want, whenever there's an opening in traffic, as opposed to waiting for the green light, same as many countries. In Japan, however, people do not cross the road on a red light. It's incredibly rare, and it's one of the greatest ways of seeing this sense of order and obedience to the law that exists in Japan. If you stand at a roadside in Japan and there's no cars coming, you can't see any cars whatsoever, people still will not cross the road until it goes green. Over the years of the many friends I've had come to visit me here, this is the thing that shocks them the most. The idea of not crossing the street when there's no visible cars there. The idea of abiding by a rule that doesn't seem necessary. And yet for me personally, the main reason I abide by it is after a few years of being here, you don't want to stand out. You don't want to be this stereotypical rule-breaking foreigner. And as well as that, you don't want to run the risk of getting caught out by the police. So those are two things worth taking into consideration before you dash across the seemingly empty road. And the last one, don't worry about not knowing anything about Japanese etiquette when you come to Japan. As I said earlier in this video, there aren't going to be any real consequences to not following any of these things, apart from maybe the footwear one. That's quite scary. You don't want to get dragged off by an old woman. The reason I say don't worry too much is because I find a lot of people come here and they're very nervous and very anxious about following the etiquette they don't really comprehend. And that includes even me. When I came here, I didn't know anything. And I was constantly anxious and nervous that I was making mistakes. But really, as a foreigner in Japan, you get a kind of a free pass to make mistakes. People are understanding and they're kind and they will let you off. So don't become too nervous about following all the rules. Do your best, but don't become a nervous wreck. So those are my 12 things not to do in Japan, but what have I missed out? Let us know in the comments section below. I've probably missed out. Don't ever be late. And don't enter a bath or a hot spring without having a shower first. Those are probably the other two key ones that I've missed out. And now they're on the list. So this is actually 14 things not to do in Japan. So bonus stuff there. It's Christmas, so you get extra content.
Happy Christmas. So is this Christmas?
ちょっと待って。Hindi natin. Okay. Let's look at the... So this one ay yung pag-dispose ng garbage, yung mga nasusunog at hindi nasusunog. Okay? At yung mga yung mga plastic, mga fry pans, yung mga to hindi nasusunog yan, nakabukod po yan, hindi po yan sinasama sa pagtapon ng basura. Ibang araw po yan tinatapon. Okay? Then, itong mga bottles, itong mga malalaki din mga furnitures na tinatapon nila ay ibang araw po yan. At meron pong araw, kumbaga sa Pilipinas, meron po yung Monday and Friday. So twice a week ang tapunan ng basura. At hindi pinipick up ang basura sa tapat ng bahay ninyo, kundi dadalhin nyo sa designated place na pinipick up ng basurero. Tingnan natin to. Okay. Ito.
You created a business.
Wait. Ay, nakikita niyo po ba? Minasang,
Hi.
nakikita ninyo. Okay. So, dito, no? Anyway, hindi niya maintindihan kung na-meet siya dito. Pero, napanood na natin yung sample na yan. Hanapin ko pa yung ano. Wait. Na-meet si Pogay. Ito, non-combustible. Pagdating naman doon, ituturo pa rin naman sa inyo kung paano. Lalo't yung may mga dadatan naman kayo mga kasama na nauna na sa inyo doon, ituturo naman sa inyo. Ito yung aluminium. Kahit na mga lata yan, magkaiba po yan. May aluminium tsaka steel. Yung aluminium, kaya yung UPN ng kamay nyo. Yung steel ay matigas. Yung PET is yung PET bottle. Yung 1.5 liter ng Coke yan. PET bottle yan kung tawagin. Ito mga PET bottles yan. Yan, ito mga noises. So, bawal mag-ingay at pwede kayong i-report sa police. Hindi naman kayo para hulihin, para bigyan kayo ng warning. Okay? At bawal magpasok ng tsinelas sa loob ng vicinity. This is the napakalinis ng CR sa Japan, no? Pwede kayo matulog sa loob. Ano po? Okay, ito yun naman ay yung kanilang local, ang unang-unang toilet nila. Japanese style toilet. So paggamit niyan ay dito kayo nakaharap. Ako dati hindi ko kasi alam din paano gamit niyan. Dito ako nakaharap eh. Dapat pala baligtad doon ka nakaharap. So may makikita pa rin kayo niyan sa ibang lugar. Ganyan ang CR. So ganyan, makita kayo mga sleeper, bawal magpasok ng tsinelas panlabas. Don't wear shoes inside the house or in vicinity. Okay, napaka-importante. Mapapasigaw talaga sa inyo ang Nihonjin, ang Japanese, pagka kayo nagpasok ng sapatos sa loob ng bahay or vicinity. Okay, so napaliwanag ko na rin to, napanood ko na sa inyo to. Yung mga etiquette sa shrine. Okay. So before, no, nung face-to-face kami, talagang tinuturuan pa namin na maggamit ng chopstick. May chopstick kami sa school. How to hold the chopstick. Okay. Pagdating dun, you have to. Matututo po kayo. Okay? So today, hanggang 12 lang po tayo ngayon. Mag-start kasi ang pinaka-regular class natin sa Monday. Ito, so for now, ang ano lang po muna tayo. Susunod niyan, so tapos tayo sa culture. Mabilis lang naman po yung culture, no? Susunod naman po ay yung writing sa hiragana. Okay? So bukas, so I hope nakapag-practice na po kayo kung paano magsulat ng hiragana, no? Next is reading. Okay? Magka-practice po tayo na reading tomorrow. Okay, minasang? Ay, kala ko. Okay? So magka-practice po tayo ng... May binigay po ako sa inyong reading practice, di po ba? Yung una po intindihin ko ano meaning ng binabasa ninyo, importante bumilis po ang basa ninyo. Okay? So tomorrow, magka-practice reading tayo and magkakaroon po tayo ng shukudai. Shukudai is assignment. I-record niyo po ang sarili ninyo habang nagbabasa. Okay? Ja,
Hi.
minasang kyowa. Today is kukumade. Ganito lang po muna tayo today. Ang start na regular class natin is on Monday.
Okay, ma'am.
So, tomorrow, at sa reading naman tayo ng hiragana. So, back kayo sa practice ng hiragana and balikan nyo pa rin yung inyong ang inyong mga ang inyong libro. Basahin nyo yung Nihongo para sa mga Pilipino. Balik-balikan niyo po yun para hindi po kayo mahirapan pag nag-umpisa na po tayo ng regular class. Okay, minasang?
Hi.
Ja, minasang, oskaresama desta. Yo,
Oskaresama desta.
Hi, Sensei.
Arigatou gozaimashita.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Ito, sino nag-message? May nag-message, everyone. Oskaresama desta. Marami kasi hindi makakapag dahil merong at work. Okay, may mga nag-message sa akin na hindi makakapasok, pero nakikinig lang sila. Okay? Oskaresama desta. Mataas
Oskaresama
ta.
desta.
Ay,
Mataas
mataas
ta.
ta.
Sensei.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Arigatou gozaimasu. Shita shimasu.